When we first started to do the book and started thinking about it, you know, another biography of Gene Simmons the world doesn't need, and another biography of Kiss maybe the world doesn't need, because there have been lots of books about that. And it seemed to make sense to talk about, and this was Ken Sharp, I think, who came up with the idea. Why don't we talk about the songs, where you were, what you were thinking, how did it come? So a very specific 50,000 word big book about the songs themselves. Where were you? What were you thinking? How did it come into being? And so the book specifically connects to the vault. And the photos, a lot of them have a lot to do with where I was, who I was with. I've read it a few times.
Yeah, I found it a fascinating process because most people, you have talked about this stuff before, but most people don't hear you talk in depth about this type of stuff. And that's one of the things I think people that do order the vault will be most impressed with, besides the music, is you really gave your heart to this. And I thought I knew a lot about things, and there were a lot of things I learned. So let me hand you this book, and we could show off this book.
Well, first of all,
How we doing?
it weighs a lot, and inside are going to be 11 CDs, not 10. That's what we hear. So it's going to get even much heavier. And inside are the stories, where I was, who I was with, and, literally the CDs, the photos, studio talk, and the stories. My mom. And some of the original artwork I did when I was around, 13, 14. It is kind of weird, because there's a Dead lyric. I'm not necessarily a fan, but what a strange journey it's been, something like that.
Trip.
What a strange trip it's been. For me, from my perspective, coming from Israel and not speaking a word of English and getting to do all this fun stuff, wow. Are you kidding?
What was it like when you first saw the vault? You first saw the...
I came from there.
Yeah, that's right. Haifa?
Yeah. That wasn't our car. That was a setup for a photo. Kid after kid would sit in that car. We were poor as dirt. Go on.
What was the experience like emotionally for you when that box set showed up? I don't know if Keith brought it by when you finally got the vault, the book, it was all together, and you said, "Wow, I did it." That's a legacy to look at.
When we first sat down and talked with the Rhino folks about it, I tried to get them to understand that I wanted to have a personal relationship with the fans. No stores, no cloud, no popcorn stuff, popcorn fart stuff where you can't touch it and feel it. I want to have something that is real, not fantasy. And the thing I kept going back to is the word wow. Literally, I'm not making this up. I said, as soon as somebody hears about it or sees it or touches it or feels, they've got to say, wow, so that you're, as they say, bereft. You just don't know how else to say it, because it's like unlike anything anybody has ever seen. So I wanted to have that wow thing. And fans have seen it. We brought the one prototype of the Kiss Vault on the Kiss cruise. As soon as the fans came up to him, you just hear it. Wow, 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 wow. You'd hear the fans do that. And that's when you know you've got it. Instead of, oh, that's interesting. You don't want that.
Did you say wow when it finally came?
Oh, yeah, I was awed. And it says a lot about Keith Valcourt and the Rhino folks and all the torture they had to go through, all the different versions and the updates and how many vault companies, safe companies. We had the Fort Knox people who make Fort Knox safes and vaults come up here. And then one thing was going to be all metal, but then it would be a fortune to ship. And then the other thing was made out of like just like paper mache, and we didn't want that because it would, die in shipping. So all this, people don't see anything. All they just see is, oh, that's a beautiful house. They have no idea what it took to actually get it built and defy gravity and withstand earthquakes. So we wanted to do that.
One of the fascinating recordings on the box are the tracks you did with Dylan, as well as the conversation. I wanted you to talk about maybe the first time you became aware of his music, the first time you met him, and the fact that you had the balls to actually call up and try to write with Dylan, and it happened.
I've been fearless and maybe delusional in that way. Ever since I came to America, I've found that more often than not I succeeded by just throwing caution to the wind and just trying. Because when you really think about it, whether you're asking that pretty girl down the street to the school dance or whether you're looking for a job, there are only two variations of an answer, yes and no. You can use a lot of fancy words. You very appreciate you coming in. It's either going to be yes or no. So you got 50% chance. Why not just try it? All they can say is no, and then you try again. What doesn't kill you doesn't, makes you stronger and all that. I didn't come up with that. So I always wanted to write a song with Bob Dylan. So I picked up the phone, found out who the manager was. Hi, it's Gene Simmons. Oh, yeah, how are you, Gene? Yeah, can I speak with Bob? Why do you want to speak with Bob? I want to write a song with him. He goes, well, everybody wants to write a song. Yeah, okay, but can I write a song with Bob Dylan? And sure enough, within 2 days, Bob Dylan came into an unmarked white van and came up to my house, this property, when it was an older house, because I had this rebuilt. He comes out of the unmarked van with an acoustic guitar and says, hey, how you doing? And we became fast friends, like we'd known each other for years. And the actual recording, the actual songwriting process, I recorded the whole thing. And what the fans are going to hear is maybe 10 minutes of something that lasted 6-7 hours. And you actually hear us coming up with the changes and the chords and just talking philosophy and our lives.
Now, you're a fearless person, but when you heard Dylan was on its way, was there some trepidation? Were there some nerves? Be honest.
Oh, I was scared to death. But I'm scared to death of everything all the time. And then you have to wipe your ass and get up on your hind legs, arch your back, and do it anyway. I'm scared of heights, but I fly through the air every time we do a show. Who the hell wants to spit fire? I don't want to do it. I'm scared. You might get burned. Just shut up and do it.
So there's 3 tracks on The Vault that feature your work with Bob. Talk about that.
Bob came up with some chords that I liked a lot. And I started humming a melody. And you hear that on the riffing back and forth. Yeah, that's good, that's good. And we started moving around and just outlined a few variations of that. And then it was time for Bob to go. So over the years, I tried to get him to write the lyrics. Bob, the reason I wanted to write with you is that you're the preeminent lyricist, certainly of the 20th century. The poet of them all. No, Mr. Kiss, you write it. To this day, he calls me Mr. Kiss. So we'd see each other on tour, and we were in Australia, and he was there. And Bob, finish the goddamn song, write the lyric. No, Mr. Kiss, you write it. So eventually I just sat down and wrote the lyric and then found variations of that, which became 2 other songs. Different, one is called Na 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 Na, because I couldn't come up with a chorus lyric, and Waiting for the Morning Light, and Everybody Needs Somebody. Everybody Wants Somebody was another variation. And they all are non-Kiss sounding. One is heavily keyboard based. Another one sounds perhaps like the Eagles. So the songs determine the vibe.
Yeah. Well,
But I hear back. He loves at least Waiting for the Morning Light, which came out, one version of it.
on your asshole solo album. The demos that you did with Eddie and Alex Van Halen for many, many years, that was among the holy grails for fans to hear. And finally, if they pick up the vault, they're going to hear all three demos you did with Alex and Eddie. Christine 16, Got Love for Sale, and Tunnel of Love. What's the backstory behind that, and how soon did you get them involved after you had produced their demo?
I couldn't get, whether you call it discovered or signed to my production company, take your pick. The original Van Halen was signed to Man of a Thousand Faces, my company. I flew him to New York, produced a 24-track demo that included 15 songs that became their first and part of their second record. And that bell just means it's time to change my colostomy bag. And I couldn't get any of the KISS guys or the management at that point to see the wonder that was Van Halen. And I said, this is going to be the next big band in America. Let's take them out on tour and they can open for us and, you know, boom, launch. Nobody heard it. Not the record company, nothing. So I did the ethical thing. I told the Van Halen guys, I'm going to tear up your contract. You're free. You don't owe me a dime. It was an interesting experiment. KISS is going out on a Love Gun tour. And at the end of that tour, if I have time, I'm going to try other record companies and other, because I want to get you set up. And I didn't want to hold them up while we were off on tour because I wouldn't have the time. They got a deal right away at Warner Brothers. Ted Templeman produced it, and boom, their first single. And I said they needed a single to do it, and I didn't think any of the tunes were a single in those days, or radio airplay. And sure enough, the Warner's guys, especially Ted Templeman, had them do a version of You Really Got Me, the Kinks song, and boom, the band launched fast. They opened for Sabbath, and that was the last time I think they opened for anybody. So when we came back off of the Love Gun tour, I think, but about 78, we stopped off in Los Angeles, and I had written a few new songs. One was Christine 16, Tunnel of Love, and Got Love for Sale.
It would have had to be before that because they appeared on Love Gun, those songs. Well, actually, Tunnel of Love was on your solo album, but the other two, Got Love for Sale and Christine 16 are on Love Gun.
Maybe it was 77.
Yeah, it's probably that.
Might have been 77.
Okay.
Came back to Los Angeles, stopped off, and remember calling the Van Halen brothers, early evening, and by 1 o'clock in the morning, we're in a studio, power trio, and record. It just flew right through those three songs. And it was in Los Angeles. It might have been a Cherokee studio, something like that. So I played guitar and bass on 2 of the tracks, plus all the background vocals, and then Eddie and Alex played lead guitar and drums, respectively. But Eddie wound up playing the guitar, the chords of Got Love for Sale, because he played along with the way I did it, but I liked the way he approached it, much more aggressive, of course. And originally that song was called Have Love Will Travel, based on an old Western I saw, Have Gun Will Travel. And that is the chorus. Have love will travel. I got love for sale. And so who knows why I decided to call it Got Love for Sale.
And Christine 16, there was something that Eddie did on that track that later was adopted by Ace, right?
When Edward, as he likes to be called, when Edward heard the track, he goes, yeah, I got it. Let's just do the solo. I said, don't you want to work something out? No, I have an idea. So literally in one take, he did that solo, bow, down, down, down. Then he said, roll it again, and he doubled certain parts and stuck on a harmony. And boom, it was done in a half hour. And I was so awed by it that I gave my only begotten son, sorry, that's another story. That's already in the New Testament. Sorry, I can't use that one.
That's the next book.
See what I did there? Yeah. The Bible According to Gene. And the solo was so good, when KISS finally recorded Christine 16, I forced Ace Frehley, our guitar player, to copy the solo note for note. Ace hated it. He did not want to do that solo. It's not his style. Didn't, he didn't think it sounded like Ace. He wanted to do more blues-based stuff because Eddie's solo wasn't blues. The harmony. And it was actually very melodic. But Ace did it, and that thing became a radio staple for quite a while. We still do it every once in a while.
Rock Salad TV. 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 Rock Salad TV.
Okay, kids, you want to know where, how? Go to GeneSimmonsVault.com. GeneSimmonsVault.com.